All right, our next presenter is Chris Marshall. He's the president from the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, Arizona, New Mexico chapter. And Chris will speak for approximately 15 minutes. He looked taller than me there, right? He really isn't, but he did there. Okay, so he will speak for about 15 minutes, and then we'll take questions from the audience. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to thank Stuart and MS Views and News for this wonderful opportunity. We are looking for more collaborative partnerships like this to be able to get out and connect with our MS community. I want to thank Dr. Hendon for his amazing presentation. Mine will be much less technical, but hopefully informative for you. I have the privilege of working with Dr. Hendon. He's on our board of trustees, as is his daughter, Dr. Travis, and just amazing knowledge and support for what we do. I have been in the nonprofit world here in the Phoenix area since 1995, working for a number of different organizations, but have only been with the National MS Society the last 2 years. So I am still learning every day. But one thing that I have noticed, and I've worked with a number of different organizations, a number of different communities in the nonprofit world. The MS community is amazing. Just the power of this community that I have seen in my short time with this society and connecting with folks. It's really inspiring to me. I am with our National MS Society office here that represents Arizona and New Mexico. We have a small office here in Phoenix, and we have some staff in New Mexico as well. We have about a dozen staff in our chapter office, as well as the resources of the society as a whole. We are a national organization with 31 different chapters representing different geographic areas across the country. Our local Arizona, New Mexico chapter is serving about 20,000 people living with MS, according to our best calculations. But one thing to remember is, as all of you know, that for every person living with MS, there's a factor of many friends, family, coworkers, their caregivers. So it really is impacting a lot of people in our community, and the society is here to help that. Our mission is to cure MS while empowering people living with MS to live their best lives. And that's a pretty powerful statement, and it has changed over the last 5 years. We put that word cure in there because we have made such progress, as you heard Dr. Hendon speak about. But we also offer so many different programs and connections for the MS community. So I want to talk a little bit about what we do here in the local community. We have a number of different programs and services. I've got some materials out at the table that I'll share with you. You can also find that information online with our National MS Society, and then navigating to our Arizona, New Mexico chapter page. We have self-help groups. We have advocacy programs. One of the things that we are focused on as well is connecting with our elected officials on issues that are important to the MS community. And there's a number of bills over the years that we have helped push through, and we're always advocating. So that's another area that we are very involved. And then we talk about programs like this one. This is such a great opportunity to get back out. Obviously, if I've been with the society 2 years, I started during the pandemic, and I'm very grateful that we had amazing virtual programs that have developed in that time, and those are still out there and very available. But there's something about an in-person program like this that you just can't replicate online. So we are trying to, coming out of this pandemic, to do more of these in-person type programs, looking for collaborative partners. It's really important that we find that opportunity out there in our community. And there are a number of great programs, like I said, both virtually and in person, that you will be able to experience through the National MS Society. One of them that particularly relates to one of the topics we discovered today or talked about was wellness. There is a virtual program coming up in February, and I'd love to connect with you after this to get information, make sure you're on our lists so you can get all of that great programming information. But there's a webinar on pathways to wellness that is just one example of the virtual programs that we can access. But like I said, we're also trying to get out there and do more and more in the community. We've got about 10 different self-help groups operating throughout our chapter, but always open to more. If somebody's willing to step up and lead those, we have resources to give you, to train you, to help coordinate those self-help groups, because that socialization and connection with the community is so important. We also have a number of healthcare engagement programs. Working with Dr. Hendon and so many other neurologists is critical for what we do. We have, on our website, we have resources where you can find MS specialists. We are also working to educate our neurologists in the community about MS, about all the resources that we can make available to you, including rehab connections that we have discovered that are right here in our community, like Dr. Hendon said. So not only letting the neurologists know who's out there, but we also then start including them on our website as MS specialists. So that's one way. In addition to that, you heard how many more neurologists are out there serving our population of living with MS, and we are trying to educate and provide opportunities to steer people going through medical school into that field because it is important. It's not maybe as sexy as some of the other positions that some of these young med students can go into, but it really is important, and we're trying to provide that opportunity as well through a number of different ways. We talked, I know that this series is also focused on looking at rural populations. One of our big initiatives over the last couple of years with the MS Society is on connecting with populations that we maybe have not historically connected with enough, and one of those is general neurologists. If you are out in a small town in Arizona or New Mexico and you don't have access to an MS specialist in one of the bigger cities, how are you going to get that same kind of care? So we are doing a big outreach program to connect with general neurologists throughout our chapter, provide them resources, provide them information. So that's just one example of our healthcare engagement. The thing that you might probably associate most closely with the National MS Society is the research. That is a big focus for us. That is why we have CURE in our mission statement. We are really leading the research efforts and working with, in conjunction with all these pharma partners to now have 25 different therapies that are available. And we are super excited about that effort as well. And there's always opportunities, and Dr. Hendon can tell you more about that too, to participate in studies when we look at these research programs that are going on. So that's a little bit about what we do. Opportunities for engagement. In addition to just connecting with the society to get those resources, to get that education, to get self-help groups, we do really rely on volunteers. We are, like I mentioned, a very small staff serving a big population. One of the key ways that one of the key needs that we have for volunteers is leadership volunteers. We have a board of trustees that currently has 15 people serving our chapter. As I mentioned, Dr. Hendon and his daughter are both on our board, but we're always looking for additional volunteers for leadership roles like that. We have recently introduced, just actually 2 weeks ago, we launched an emerging leaders group for our Phoenix market. Emerging Leaders Alliance, so it's kind of a subset of the board to try to get younger business leaders. Many of them are living with MS or have strong connections to MS, but just trying to build that pipeline of leadership volunteers. We are hoping in the next month or two to launch a community council in Tucson to specifically focus on that geographic area. And we also, about 2 months ago, launched our New Mexico Community Council to really focus in our efforts there. So we're always looking for volunteers in that regard, and also event volunteers. We have a number of events and would love to see you out either as a volunteer or participant in our events. So that's one of the volunteer opportunities that are available through the Society. I want to just shout out one of our best, and I guess it's the event that's coming up real quick here, is our Walk MS event that I know many of you, in talking to you earlier, you have participated in. We'd love to see you out at that event. We have a Walk MS event in Tucson on March 4th, Saturday, March 4th in Tucson. We have our Walk MS event here in Phoenix, just about a mile north of here at Salt River Fields on April 1st, Saturday, April 1st. And then we also have our Walk MS event in Albuquerque taking place on April 15th. So that is an amazing opportunity to just come out and connect with the MS community. It is a critical fundraiser for us, but that's not what it's about. It's about connecting with the community. It's our most
accessible event. We have the bike event, but if you're not a cyclist, that's not going to work for you. We have everybody that comes out to our Walk MS events. We have a 1 mile, a 3 mile walk. They're very doable. Even if you can't do the walk, we've got a bunch of expo sponsors out there. We will have, hopefully this year in Phoenix, 2,500 people on that Saturday. Tucson, hopefully 500 to 700, and maybe close to 1,000 in Albuquerque. So I just want to throw a quick shout out for Walk MS. It is a great opportunity to connect with the society. And just a few other upcoming events. I mentioned the Pathways to Wellness virtual program that's coming up. We also, in honor of MS Awareness Month in March, we do a series of events with a great partner of ours, Arizona Wilderness Brewing Company. They open up on a Saturday at their Gilbert location and a Sunday at their downtown Phoenix location, just to have a social opportunity for the MS community to come out. They are big supporters. They'll do some fun raffles and raise a lot of money for the society. But more than anything, it's just a chance to come out on those days and connect with our fellow MS community here in the state of Arizona. And we do similar events in New Mexico. So that is a very quick synopsis of what the National MS Society is doing here in the community. I doubt I'm going to have the number of questions, and certainly not the complexity of questions that Dr. Hendon had to deal with, but I would, I guess, now like to open it up if anybody has any questions about what we're doing.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. And I want to let you know that if I weren't doing what I was doing, I'd be out there volunteering for everything, okay?
You talked about an upcoming program for wellness. That's a virtual program.
It is.
Is it available for anybody registered with the MS Society? I live in Florida.
Yeah, it's available for anybody to sign up, and I'll get you that information. Yep.
Great,
Most
thank
of
you.
our programming, particularly our virtual programming, is experienced by people from all over the entire country. Like I said, we have 31 chapters, and that virtual programming is universal. And then we'll also have these unique opportunities to come to a community and do something in person as well.
Great, thank you. Anybody have a question? Well, thank you for that. Nobody's online with a question, but I do want to let you all know that prior to MS Views and News, I chaired 2 different walk sites in the state of Florida, in South Florida, all right? I chaired the Miami Walk for 5 years, and during those 5 years, I also chaired the Fort Lauderdale Walk for 2 of those 5 years. All right, not only did I do that, but at the same time that I was volunteering with the chapter, I was the liaison to all the support group leaders, okay? And I also held MS Men's Day. And I was doing all this with multiple sclerosis. But I just found I needed to do a little bit more, and that's another topic and another journey altogether. I just want to let you all know that the MS Society is doing fabulous work for you all, other than just raising money, okay? And that you all should be involved. I mean, don't let everybody else do it for you. You got to do it for yourselves also. I run around the country providing these programs. Why? Because I know people need them. All right? And it doesn't stop me. I don't live my MS. I live everybody else's MS. And that's the way I push through life. Okay? Anyway, thank you again for being here. That was fabulous.
You bet. Thank you. We appreciate your volunteerism.
Oh, my gosh. I want to do more with you.
And I'll just quickly throw a shout out. Like I said, if you want to come up to me afterwards and give me your information, we'll make sure you get on our list. We are trying to do a better job locally, in addition to the great national information that goes out, but to make sure that we're connecting and letting you know about these opportunities happening locally.
Thank you to Chris and the National MS Society.